everybody, and welcome back to SFF180. It is Mailbag Monday for the 31st of March, 2014. How's everybody doing? Spring is now well underway, and it's time for a new batch of books. It's not so ungainly a stack that I can't hold it up this time. Looks like 8 items this week. Pretty healthy pile. And without further ado, let's dive into the new books. Okay, and we start with a Tor delivery. And I'm very happy to see the new book by Felix Gilman. Gorgeous cover, check that out. This is called The Revolutions, and it is a gripping tale of Victorian science fiction, space exploration, and planetary romance. In 1893, young journalist Arthur Shaw is at work in the British Museum reading room when the Great Storm hits London, wreaking unprecedented damage. In its aftermath, Arthur's newspaper closes, owing him money, and all his debts come due at once. His fiancée Josephine takes a job as a stenographer for some of the fashionable spiritualist and occult societies of Fin de Siècle London Society, which I'm sure I horribly mispronounced. At one of her meetings, Arthur is given a job lead for what seems to be accounting work, but at a salary many times what any clerk could expect. The work is long and peculiar, as the workers spend all day performing unnerving calculations that make them hallucinate or even go mad. But the money is compelling. Things are beginning to look up when the wages of dabbling in the esoteric suddenly come to a head. War breaks out between competing magical societies, and that's where I'm going to stop, and hopefully just leave you with a bit of a teaser there. Felix Gilman wrote a couple of books that I reviewed about a year ago, and both of which I enjoyed to varying degrees. The Half-Made World and its sequel, The Rise of Ransom City. Ransom City especially had, I think, one of the most lovable, unreliable narrators I've ever seen in fantasy fiction. The story I thought kind of ran out of steam before the end, but I loved that narrator. Both of those books are quite recommended, I would say, and so I'm very excited to read his new one. This is The Revolutions, new from Tor. Alright, this one says it comes from Random House. Okay, they really want me reading Irenic On. This is now the 4th copy of this book I've received. I've gotten 2 copies of the final hardcover as well as 2 copies of the ARC. You know what? I'm going to get in touch with these folks. I have a feeling, I'm very eager to read it. I will actually be adding it to my queue very soon, but yeah. Alright, I think I'm well covered on Irenic On, guys. In case you didn't see last week's Mailbag, if you didn't, you can go watch that. This is a historical fantasy set in a land where a magic war, essentially, has resulted in a river surrounding a town. The river itself becomes sentient and hostile. And so they have to deal with that. In the meantime, there's all of this kind of early medieval politics going on. And so it seems like a really fascinating premise, and I'm quite eager to read it. So yes, you have my attention, Joe Fletcher Books. Irenic On by Aidan Hart, the first book in the Wave trilogy. Okay, Tor is back yet again, and I'm going to suspect that this might not be another copy of Irenic On. So, guys, come on, this is getting redonkulous. Okay, the double dipping. Thank you. But yes, The Revolutions from Felix Gilman. And another Tor package. Will this be... I wonder if it will be The Revolutions by Felix Gilman. Well, we'll see. Hang on. Aha! It is not. It is a new title. And this is one that I have been kind of intrigued to check out as well since I first heard about it. This is The Goblin Emperor. It is by Catherine Addison, although it is not a debut novel by any means, because Catherine Addison is actually a pseudonym for a woman named Sarah Monette. So what is her new series about? Well, the youngest half-goblin son of the Elvish Emperor has grown up in exile, isolated and ignored by the glittering world of the Elvish court, until an airship crash kills his father and brothers, leaving him the next heir. He's utterly unprepared for his new role as the next emperor, and overwhelmed by the endless intrigues and complex machinations of life in the capital. Even worse, it soon emerges that the airship crash was no accident. Someone assassinated the emperor, and now he stands between the ambitious plotter and the throne. Surrounded by enemies and potential assassins, an alienated child must step up to the throne and assume power he never asked for. So, yeah, that sounds like it could be a really fun little tale. But I love the look of the book. This is The Goblin Emperor by Sarah Monette, writing as Catherine Addison, so we will see what her new persona has to offer in fantasy fiction. And Tor books yet again. At long last, here's one I've been waiting for ever since I read the very first blurb of it back on Tor's website. This is The Burning Dark, a new book by Adam Christopher, who I got a book of his actually not long ago, a new one as well, Hang Wire from Angry Robot Books, so I may do the two of these together, but this one sounds really, really creepy and intriguing. Check this out. Back in the day, Captain Abraham Idaho Cleveland, very American, had led the fleet into battle against an implacable machine intelligence capable of devouring entire worlds. But after saving a planet, he finds himself relegated to one of the most remote backwaters in fleet space to oversee the decommissioning of a semi-deserted space station. But all is not well aboard the U-Star Coast City. The station's reclusive commandant is nowhere to be seen, leaving Cleveland to deal with a hostile crew on his own. Persistent malfunctions plague the station's systems, while interference from a toxic purple star makes even ordinary communications problematic. Alien shadows and whispers seem to haunt the lonely corridors and airlocks, fraying the nerves of everyone aboard. Isolated and friendless, Cleveland reaches out to the universe via an old-fashioned space radio, only to tune in to a strange enigmatic signal, a woman's voice that seems to echo across 1,000 light-years of space. But is the transmission just a random bit of static from the past, or a warning of an undying menace beyond mortal comprehension? You know, you don't tend to get too much creepy, almost horror-oriented SF in literary SF. You tend to see it a little bit more often in movies, with movies like, Alien and Event Horizon and Pandorum and things like that, but you don't tend to get too much creepy, eerie, scary space opera. And so I have been very intrigued to see what Adam Christopher has come up with here. I'm very much looking forward to this, actually. The Burning Dark by Adam Christopher. Okay, well, Kevin J. Anderson fans, talking about space opera, here is another one on an epic scale. This is an arc for a book coming out in June called The Dark Between the Stars, and it is the first book in a new trilogy set in the same universe as his Saga of the Seven Suns series, which some of you may have read. That was a big, sprawling space opera trilogy, ran like 7 books. I wonder if you have to have read all of those in order to get into this one. But it's called The Dark Between the Stars, and I can't really read. The human race has expanded out among the stars, establishing colonies on numerous planets, while a group of independent gypsy clans, the Roamers, operate giant floating sky mines in the clouds of gas giant planets. On the planet Theric, the capital of the Human Confederation, humans live inside a gigantic world forest whose towering trees are all interconnected into a single mind. Certain humans can establish a bond with the trees, and these green priests are able to telepathically link with the forest. The races of the Spiral Arm will discover the universe is about to be terrorized by an evil so ancient that it has been forgotten, an entity so powerful that the very existence of all living things is threatened. Okay, so there's that kind of thing. Massive battle between good and evil. The human race must set aside its own inner conflicts to rebuild their alliance with the Uldaran Empire for the survival of the galaxy. Okay, well, it sounds a little cliche, but, who knows? There's room for those kinds of plots. Anyway, but The Dark Between the Stars, this releases in June from Tor by Kevin J. Anderson. Oh, St. Martin's Press. Okay, how's that for an eerie cover? Here we go. This is a new book called The Furies. The author is Mark Alpert. In his latest thriller, it says, The Furies, Mark Alpert introduces readers to a centuries-old shadowy clan that will do anything to keep their genetic breakthroughs a secret, even if it means killing to do so. For centuries, the Furies have lived among us. Long ago, they were called witches and massacred by the thousands, but they survived. They're human just like us, except for a rare, inherent quirk so terrifying that they've hidden it from the rest of the world for the past 400 years. Now, a chance encounter with a beautiful woman named Ariel has led John Rogers into the middle of a secret war among the Furies. Ariel recruits John to help her with the battle between a rebellious faction of the clan and their elders. The chance to remake the human race is the grand prize, so the stakes are high. So they're saying that this one is for fans of Michael Crichton, Justin Cronin, and Stephen King. Another battle of good and evil, but in a dark, moody forest, The Furies by Mark Alpert. And the last book of this episode is a Tor title. Okay, well, this is a ship star, and it is not about a dyslexic starship. It is the new book, the team-up by Gregory Benford and Larry Niven, and the sequel to a book they did a year ago called Bowl of Heaven, which I haven't read yet, but I do have a copy. I know some people have said it's kind of but anyway, Ship Star is here. And it continues the story, the continuing saga of a human expedition to another star system that is jeopardized by an encounter with an astonishingly immense artifact in interstellar space, a bowl-shaped structure cupping a star with a habitable area equivalent to many millions of Earths, and which tantalizingly is on a direct path heading towards the same system the human ship is planning to colonize. So, okay, so you've got old school hard science fiction, story told on a very vast galactic scale. I'm looking forward to reading these all the same. I do want to get caught up. But Shipstar, the sequel to Bowl of Heaven from Benford and Niven. And that is all I have this week on the Mailbag. Thank you once again for joining me. As usual, like, share, and subscribe. As always, getting very, very close to that elusive 300 threshold on the subscribers, so thank you so much for the ongoing channel support. And as always, in the Mailbag, please fire up the comments. Let me know which of this week's books looks most intriguing to you, which you would most like me to review first. And until I see all of you in my next batch of reviews and next week on the Mailbag, happy reading.